Exposed, how a poor maid's incredible discovery saved her billionaire boss from a hidden plot. Anna stood in the grand hall of the Hart mansion, her heart racing as she polished a silver candlestick. The warmth of sunlight poured through the tall windows, illuminating the opulence that surrounded her, a stark contrast to her cramped apartment a few blocks away. Families in the affluent neighborhood of Bellevue lived lives that felt galaxies away from hers, where dreams often slipped through clenched fists. But Anna clung to those dreams for her spirited 8-year-old son, Ethan, who clambered through their small home like a whirlwind, his imagination stretching beyond their reality. With every sweep of her cloth, she poured her energy into her work. The soft silk curtains billowed in the breeze like active participants, fluttering with possibility. She envisioned a different life for Ethan, one filled with opportunity, laughter, and hope. She gritted her teeth against thoughts of peeling paint and empty fridges, determined to climb out of the shadows of poverty and bring her son into the light. One afternoon, while rummaging through the office, Anna overheard hushed voices behind a closed door. Pressed against the cool wood, she strained to hear. The chilling words slipped through the cracks: corporate sabotage aimed squarely at Christopher Hart. A plot roiling with betrayal, one that could topple the empire he built and erase his reputation overnight. The realization thudded in her chest. She felt trapped between a rock and a hard place. Speaking up could save him, but it could also cost her everything: her job, her home, and even Ethan's future. "Mom?" Ethan peeked through the door, his innocent face scrunching in worry. "Are you okay?" Anna forced a smile, her heart racing. "Just making everything sparkle, buddy. How was your day at school?" "It was good. But, Mom, I need..." "But what, my love?" she whispered, pulling him into her arms. The sweetness of his small body grounding her. His dreams were bigger than their life, she could feel it. "You know I'm always here for you." A moment's pause settled between them, a fleeting peace before the world crashed in. Anna's mind raced with the weight of her dilemma. Loyalty was one thing, survival was another. The voices at the office kept echoing in her mind, dread like a vice squeezing her heart. Just then, the familiar voices of her neighbors wafted through her thoughts, filled with warmth and faith. They could lift her spirit like the morning sun. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Taking a deep breath, Anna determined she wouldn't cower in the shadows any longer. With the supportive murmurs of her community echoing in her mind, she mustered every ounce of courage she had. Anna wasn't just a maid, she was a mother, a protector, and she would stand for what was right. She would confront the conspirators, risking everything for Christopher, the man who had unknowingly inspired her with ambition. Despite the chasm that separated them, as she prepared to act, she could feel the weight of the battle ahead pressing down on her. The invisible chains of disparity bound her tight. But the thought of a brighter future for Ethan pushed her forward, heart pounding hard against her chest. Would she bridge the gap between their worlds, or would the threats engulf her before she could uncover the truth? Time was running out. Anna took a trembling breath as the enormity of her decision settled like a heavy cloak on her shoulders. This was it. There was no room for second-guessing anymore. With a final glance at Ethan, his trusting gaze filled with hope, she straightened her back and stepped away from the door. Her legs carried her toward the sound of the conspirators' voices, each step a whisper of defiance against the odds stacked against her. The door to the office creaked as she swung it open, revealing Christopher Hart seated behind his grand mahogany desk, flanked by two of his closest associates, men she recognized from the board meetings she dared to listen in on. Their faces turned sharply in her direction, surprise etched into their features. "Anna?" Christopher said, his brows furrowing in confusion. "I overheard you talking," Anna blurted, her voice trembling but full of urgency. The words felt foreign, yet they flowed from her as if her heart was voicing what had been bottled up for too long. There's a plot against you. It's serious. What are you saying? One of the men, Alan, scoffed dismissively. He waved a hand as if brushing her off, but behind him, she saw Christopher's expression morph from confusion to alarm. I heard plans for sabotage. They want to frame you. You must trust me, I wouldn't say this without reason. Anna felt a surge of adrenaline course through her body, pushing her to stand taller. Christopher's gaze held hers, searching for sincerity. For a brief moment, she thought she could see his walls wavering. And why would you care about me? He asked, a hint of skepticism in his voice. The question cut through the tension, but she had prepared for this. Because you care for those around you. I see it in how you treat us. You are not just a billionaire locked in a mansion, you are a part of this community. I want to protect my son's future. To do that, I need to protect yours. The air thickened with her words, and Christopher leaned back, considering. You need to leave this to the professionals, Alan interjected, the disdain clear in his tone as he shifted in his seat. No. Anna stepped forward, her heart racing. You don't understand. This isn't just about money or power, this is about lives. If you don't act fast, it could ruin everything you've built. This could end you. Please, just listen. There was a fleeting pause that felt like eternity. Christopher's eyes never wavered from hers, and for that moment, the distance between the worlds they lived in shrank. Anna, he finally said, his voice steadier now, if this is true, if what you say holds any weight. Her heart leaped at the thread of hope woven into his words. But then the door burst open, and in strode a sharp-dressed man, his expression unreadable. I've been looking for you, Mr. Hart. We have a situation. Anna felt her stomach drop. The urgency of the moment hardened yet another layer of resolve within her. She couldn't let fear take hold now. What do you want to do? Christopher asked with newfound determination, turning back to Anna. The intensity of his gaze caught her off guard. It was a plea wrapped in belief. I want to investigate, she replied, her voice steadying every heartbeat. We can do this together. Together? Alan snorted, difficulty masking his disbelief. With a maid? This maid may be the only one who knows the ins and outs of the mansion, Christopher countered, glancing back at Anna, who felt a flicker of pride ignite within her. As they started plotting their next steps, a new layer of fear loomed before them. The clock was ticking, and Anna couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. But who was really pulling the strings? And how deep did this plot go? Just then, a sound echoed from the hallway, a chilling laugh, followed by hurried footsteps. Would they be able to uncover the truth before it was too late? Time was running out as shadows deepened around them. Anna's breath hitched as the sound of laughter faded. It wasn't just a laugh, it felt like a taunt, echoing down the hall like a warning bell. The three men exchanged glances, tension crackling in the air. Christopher's hand clenched on the desk, his jaw tightening. We need to move. Now, he said, his voice low but urgent. Where? Anna's heart raced, adrenaline surging as she felt the weight of the moment pressing down. They were exposing themselves to danger by even discussing these plans. She couldn't fathom what might happen next. Follow me, Christopher ordered, rising from his chair. Before anyone could respond, he turned toward the door. Alan and the other man exchanged dubious looks, but they fell in line, drawn by both curiosity and the gravity of the situation. Anna trailed behind, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts. She was weaving through a world far removed from her everyday life, a world filled with deceit and danger. Yet, at that moment, she felt oddly powerful, a sense of courage fueling each step. They moved swiftly through the mansion, Christopher leading them down a corridor she had never ventured into before. The decor changed subtly, portraits of men and women from generations long past lining the walls, their gazes trailing after them as if they could foresee the unfolding drama. Christopher paused at a door covered in dark wood, gesturing for them to wait. "This leads to the security room. We can access the surveillance footage," he whispered, glancing back at Anna. "Footage?" Anna echoed, her throat dry. "What are we looking for?" "Anything unusual. Any faces we don't recognize," he replied, gripping the doorknob as if it were his last lifeline. He pushed the door open. The room was dim, lit by the glow of several screens. A jumble of monitors hummed softly, displaying different views of the mansion from the grand foyer to the back garden. Anna stepped in cautiously, her heart racing as the eerie glow illuminated Christopher's face, revealing a mix of determination and concern. "Let us see what we can find." He sat and began clicking through feeds. Alan and the other man watched, arms crossed, a mix of disbelief and reluctant interest in their eyes. Anna leaned closer to the screens, her mind racing with possibilities. What would they uncover? Could she truly help them? Just then, a flicker on one of the screens made her stomach twist. "There!" she exclaimed, pointing toward a clip from the garden camera. A man in a dark hoodie skulked near the back entrance, glancing over his shoulder as if checking for any witnesses. "What is he doing?" Alan asked, squinting at the screen. "Looks like he is up to no good," Anna said, her pulse quickening. We should get closer." Christopher's hand was already moving to the radio on his desk, prepared to call security. He hesitated only for a moment, glancing at Anna. "Are you sure? I've seen that figure before. He has been around the grounds several times." Her voice trembled with urgency. "We have to warn someone." Just then, the door slammed open, causing everyone to jump. A figure stood in the doorway, haughty, confident, with eyes that gleamed with malice. "You're too late, Mr. Hart," he sneered, stepping into the room. "You've walked straight into a trap." Anna's breath caught in her throat as the cold wash of dread settled in. "What do you mean?" she stammered, stepping beside Christopher, who looked ready to defend. "Let us just say, you should be listened, Anna. You'll regret this." A sickening feeling pooled in the pit of her stomach. They had uncovered something bigger than they imagined, but at what cost? "Stay back," Christopher commanded, stepping protectively in front of Anna, his voice shaking the tension heavy in the room. But would they have time to regroup and formulate a plan, or was chaos already spilling into their lives? Anna looked from Christopher to the intruder, her heart racing. They were standing at the brink of a storm, and it was only beginning to unleash its fury. The intruder leaned casually against the doorframe, a sinister smile spreading across his face. "You really thought you could sneak around here, steal what you need without consequences?" His voice dripped with mockery, filling the room with a sort of twisted energy. Christopher held his ground, eyes narrow, posture tense. "Who are you?" he demanded, each word laced with determination even though his body betrayed the tension he fought against. Anna felt an electric pulse of fear, the kind that made her limbs feel heavy while screaming inside her head for action. The man pushed off the frame and whispered, "Names aren't necessary, but let us just say I'm here to make sure you don't interfere with things far beyond your understanding." He stepped further into the room, his shadow swallowing the dim light around him. Anna stepped closer to Christopher, her heart thudding loudly enough that she was sure everyone could hear it. "We can call for help now," she suggested, her voice shaking as she eyed the man confronting them. She felt exposed, like her secrets and fears were draped across her for all to see. "Help?" The man laughed sharply, as if amused by the idea. "There's no help coming. They're all on board with what's planned. It's just you four versus the world." His gaze flicked to Anna, and something in it made her blood run cold. "But you've chosen the wrong side. What do you want?" Alan interjected, muscles tensing as he struggled against the rising panic. The man tilted his head, his eyes glimmering like the sharpest knives. I want you to leave this place and forget everything you've found. Or else he let the threat hang, heavy in the air. Anna swallowed hard, glancing at the monitors behind Christopher. The hushed backdrop of static was haunting. There was no going back now, her gut told her this was going to end in chaos, one way or another. We can't just be quiet, she blurted out, surprising even herself. Whatever you're hiding from us, it can't be good. We're not going to let you intimidate us. The man chuckled darkly. You think bravery counts for anything? This isn't a movie, little girl, he taunted, eyes narrowing. This is real life where threats become action in an instant. Christopher's hand instinctively reached for something on the desk. A flash of hope surged through Anna, but before she could make sense of it, the man lunged toward Christopher. In an instant, everything felt like it was poised to explode. Get down! Christopher shouted, thrusting Anna away from him just as the figure closed the distance. The sheer force of movement flung Anna backward into the desk, the metallic clang ringing sharply in the air. Panic struck like lightning, and for a moment, everything blurred. Anna's heart raced as chaos consumed the room. Christopher grappled with the intruder, Alan shouting something that was lost in the cacophony. Fighting against the whirlwind of emotions, Anna pushed herself up, taking in the scene. All around her, the mansion felt alive with the tension as shadows danced across the walls. Then she spotted the radio sitting just within reach on Christopher's desk. If she could only grab it, maybe they could call for help. Her mind raced, was there still time? But her body betrayed her, legs refusing to move fast enough. She watched in horror as Christopher struggled, adrenaline pumping through his veins. Would he be able to hold out? The intruder was relentless, and every movement felt crucial. You need to escape. Anna yelled, her voice trembling but strong enough to cut through the noise. But was there still a way out, or were they trapped in a fate they couldn't escape? As the skirmish continued, and shadows threatened to consume them all, Anna harbored a single burning question: could courage and unity defeat the growing darkness? The answer was just out of reach, teetering on the edge of unveiling. Anna blinked, her breath coming in rapid bursts as she fought her pounding heart and the chaos unfolding before her. The sound of shuffling bodies and breathless grunts filled the air, drowning out everything else. It was wild and raw, a whirlwind caught in a moment of primal survival. Desperate, she launched herself toward Christopher's desk, the radio hovering just a few feet away like a beacon of hope. But with every step she took, the struggle between Christopher and the intruder became more desperate. Christopher's gasps were sharp, each one slicing through Anna's resolve. Stay back! Christopher shouted, his voice strained. He twisted, pushing against the intruder, who was a dark blur of menace and quick movement. Anna hesitated. Panic clawed at her throat as she debated between rushing for the radio or helping him. In a flash, the intruder forced Christopher back against the wall. Time stretched as she caught a glimpse of the malice in the intruder's eyes, a smirk that chilled her to the bone. It was more than just a fight, this man relished the chaos he caused. Christopher! Anna screamed, instinctively moving forward as if she could somehow pull him to safety through sheer will. Her voice seemed to snap him from the fog of battle, his eyes darting toward her for just a moment. That brief connection fueled her resolve. Get the radio! He yelled, urgency threading through his words as he pushed forward again, trying to gain the upper hand. But the intruder quickly countered, bringing his knee up hard into Christopher's stomach. A gasp escaped Christopher's lips, and Anna's heart plummeted. Alan was shouting, too, joining the frenzy, but his words were lost in the clash of chaos. They were losing control. They needed to act now, or they might not get another chance. Anna dove for the desk, fingers trembling as they closed around the cool metal of the radio. She felt a surge of determination, even as her mind screamed at her to run. She couldn't abandon Christopher. With the radio in hand, she turned, her eyes widening at the sight before her. Christopher was on the floor now, grappling for stability, the intruder hovering like a dark cloud above him. I warned you, the man said, his voice low and sinister, as he prepared to strike again. No! She cried, her desperation erupting into action. Anna hurled the radio towards them with all her strength. It spun through the air, the sound of clinking plastic echoing as it met its target, smashing into the intruder's shoulder and distracting him just long enough for Christopher to shove him back. Terrified but resolute, Anna seized the moment. Now, Christopher! She shouted. He scrambled to his feet, firing off a wild kick toward the intruder, managing to knock him off balance. For a heartbeat, silence fell over the room, a fragile stillness in the storm. Anna's breath hung suspended, the weight of the moment heavy in the air. The intruder stumbled, surprised, but quickly regained his composure, his eyes narrowing as they filled with fury. You think this changes anything? He spat, voice dripping with hatred. You're going to regret this. Anna could feel the shift in tension, a thick cloud forming with every line he uttered. We need to get out. Alan shouted, urgency punctuating his words. No! Said Christopher, determination igniting in his eyes. We need to fight back. We've come too far to run now. Anna and Alan exchanged anxious glances, a silent question passing between them. How far were they willing to go to protect what they had uncovered? And as the chaos intensified once again, Anna took a deep breath, fire igniting in her chest. They were not just fighting for themselves anymore, they were standing against a dark tide meant to sweep everything away. The moment to act was now. Would they stand together, holding back the darkness, or would they become swallowed by it? With one final glance at Christopher and Alan, Anna knew they had to take a leap of faith. But the stakes were higher than anyone anticipated. The thin barrier between bravery and foolishness was a precarious one. And as the intruder lunged forward once more, Anna's heart raced, wondering if they were ready to expose the truth behind the shadows closing in on them. Anna's mind raced, her heart pounding against her ribcage as the intruder lunged. She could see the strength coiling in his limbs, the menace radiating from his very being. Time slowed, each movement becoming more agonizingly clear. Christopher, look out! She shouted, her voice raw with fear, like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. In an instant, Christopher dodged to the side, narrowly avoiding the intruder's fist as it slammed into the wall. The impact sent a tremor through the room. He reclaimed his footing, face flushed with resistance and grim determination. Together! He urged, gathering himself as Alan joined him, fists clenched, ready to defend. Anna took a deep breath, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She had the radio, a fragile tool in this brutal melee, but it was enough to buy them some time. We can do this, she whispered to herself, positive energy pushing back her fear. The intruder's gaze darted between them, an animal sensing the intensity of the pack closing in. He grinned, a terrifying expression not of amusement but of wicked glee, as if he were savoring every second of their misery. I'll enjoy making you regret this, he snarled, adjusting his stance with a predator's flinch, ready to strike again. Suddenly, Anna had an idea, a thread of inspiration that sparked in her mind. Christopher, the radio. She pointed to the wall, only for Alan to follow her desperate plan together as they fanned out. Distract him! He shouted, throwing a lamp at the wall, the shattering sound echoing in the cramped space. The intruder's attention flicked away from Anna and Christopher, just for a moment, and it was all they needed. Now! Christopher bellowed, lunging towards the intruder. He struck with purpose, grappling at the intruder's shoulders, forcing him back. Anna held onto the radio tightly, her heart racing, anxiously waiting for the right moment to strike, but the intruder evaded Christopher's grasp, spinning with unnatural agility, striking him hard across the face. Christopher staggered back, the hit amplifying the tension in the room. No! Anna yelled, a jolt of fear making her almost forget her resolve. She stepped forward, her voice rising above the chaos. You win. This isn't just about you. The intruder froze for a moment, confusion flickering across his dark features. "What do you know?" he demanded, his arrogance slightly cracked. That moment of hesitation was all Anna needed. "I know your name. I know the people you work for." She didn't know if that was true, but she hoped it was enough to spark doubt or insecurity. It did, and the intruder's expression faltered. "You think you can disrupt everything I've worked for? You'll regret even speaking my name." Anna felt a spark of power surging in her heart. If knowing his name would distract him, then maybe revealing more would shift the balance. "You're not invincible. We can expose you. You're just a coward hiding in the shadows." With that, she launched the radio high, allowing it to crash against the ground with a deafening thud. The shattering moment echoed, and the intruder turned, fury flaring in his eyes. "Enough!" Christopher, seizing the chance, charged forward again, anger blurring the line of strategy. The two collided, grappling fiercely once more. But it left Alan and Anna with the chance to move behind the intruder, circling like hawks. Anna's breath was a ragged whisper. They were close now, the stakes higher than ever. With adrenaline masterfully blending with hope and fear, she leaned toward Alan, their eyes locked. "We have to stop this now, for Christopher." Together, Alan agreed, clenching his fists tighter. She could see the resolve set within his gaze, mirroring the resolve she felt in every fiber of her being, and as the chaos unfurled, Anna wondered if they were strong enough to face the truth. They had fought the darkness thus far, but the harsh reality loomed ahead. Was courage enough to strike at the heart of the enemy? The intruder prepared for another strike, but her pulse didn't waver. It surged with as much strength as her determination. Would they finally bring light to the shadows surrounding them? The air crackled with tension as Anna and Alan circled the intruder. His eyes were wild, darting between Christopher and the two of them, calculating his next move like a cornered animal sensing it might lose its grip. Anna could feel the beating of her heart in her throat, fear mixing with the tenacity she'd found within her. "Now, Alan!" she shouted, hoping her voice would gain the edge they desperately needed. Drawing on their connection, Alan charged forward, feinting left to draw the intruder's focus. In that split second, Anna leaped to the right, attempting to catch him off guard. It was a risky strategy, and she knew it. Their opponent was undeniably dangerous, but it was also their only chance. The intruder roared in annoyance, pivoting toward Alan, his fist swinging in a wide arc. Alan ducked just in time, and Anna took her shot. She lunged forward, grabbing the sleek metal lamp from the floor, and swung it down onto the intruder's arm with all her might. The solid thump echoed in her ears, a sweet sound amidst the chaos. The intruder let out a grunt of pain, but he quickly retaliated, twisting around to lock eyes with Anna. She steeled herself, unwilling to give in to the dread creeping up her spine. "You think you're clever, little girl?" He spat through gritted teeth, shaking off the shock of her blow. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." But Anna's instinct kicked in. "And you have no idea what we're willing to fight for." She shot back, adrenaline turning her voice fierce and unwavering. For a moment, the room was enveloped in silence, a stillness that felt like the calm before a storm. Christopher, regaining his breath, pushed against the wall, his fists clenched tightly. The fire in his eyes spoke of resolve and determination, fueling the strength they all felt deep within. Alan stepped forward beside Anna, mirroring her stance. "We have each other, and we're not going to back down." The intruder reeled, and for a brief moment, Anna sensed a flicker of uncertainty. That was their opening. Fight together. Now! She encouraged, pumping up their collective resolve. With synchronized determination, they surged forward as one, an unstoppable wave crashing against the force that threatened to drown them. Alan tackled the intruder, catching him off guard once again. Christopher quickly regained his footing, following suit without hesitation. They bore down on him, wrestling to keep him subdued as raw strength clashed against sheer desperation. Anna felt the heaviness of the struggle inside her, fear battling with the fierce loyalty they shared, steadfast against brutality. And then, Just as victory seemed within reach, the intruder unleashed a guttural roar, his anger fueling new strength. He bucked against them, forcing Anna to lose her footing. A split second turned gravity to chaos, and she stumbled, her breath hitching in her throat. No. Not now, she could feel the panic threatening to pull her under. But just then, she saw Christopher and Alan spring back on the attack. They were relentless, courage burning bright in their eyes. Some kind of resolve echoed in her chest, igniting the fire within. In that moment, Anna understood the power they held, their unity, their determination to shield one another. "We can do this!" she shouted, her voice cresting like a wave, amplifying their fight. Suddenly, the intruder swung wildly again, desperation morphing into rage. It was clear that he felt cornered, but they were not just fighters, they were friends bound by purpose. Together, they could expose his darkness. The light they carried was the KEY.AS. The struggle escalated, Anna's thoughts drifted momentarily to their safety, her heartache tinged with an overwhelming sense of responsibility. How far would she go to protect them? But before she could pursue that thought, the intruder's fist connected harshly with Alan's side. Anna gasped as he staggered, fear gripping at her as he faltered. "Alan!" she cried, adrenaline surging. She reached out to him, desperation mixed with determination raw in her voice. The question loomed in her mind: how much longer could they hold out? Would they uncover the truth before it consumed them? The battle raged on. Would their strength hold against the darkness long enough to bring the truth to light? Anna's heart hammered in her chest as she leaned forward, instinctively reaching for Alan. The sight of him wincing from the blow shot a wave of anger through her. They had to end this. They had to protect each other. With renewed courage, she shouted, "Get up, Alan. We need you." His eyes snapped to hers, full of pain but burning with determination. "I'm okay," he gritted out, pushing himself back to his feet, though it took every ounce of strength he had left. "Just keep fighting." The intruder used their moment of distraction to his advantage, lashing out like a serpent. His fist whirled toward Anna, and she barely dodged, feeling the rush of air as it whooshed past her. "You're all just kids playing heroes," he sneered, a dark grin splitting his face. "You have no idea what you're up against." And just like that, the air thickened with dread. Their enemy was a monster, but he looked human, and that was the most frightening part. Anna fought back, the chill creeping down her spine. Christopher shouted, "Enough. We don't want to hurt you, but we will if we have to." The intruder chuckled darkly, a sound that sent a shiver through Anna's bones. "You think you can intimidate me? You don't know who I am." With every word he spoke, Anna's sense of justice flared. It was not just a physical battle, it was a fight for their hope, their safety, their sanity. They couldn't let him control their fear. This man fed off it. "Then let us show you who we are," Alan declared, stepping forward once more, fire igniting in his blue eyes. Anna joined him, drawing on the strength surging through her veins. They had each other. They had something worth fighting for. Anna lunged again, swinging the lamp as she shouted, "Together." The crash of metal against his skin echoed in the room, but the intruder barely flinched. He grabbed the lamp, yanking it from her grip and tossing it aside. "Is that all you've got?" he taunted, shaking his head, feigning disappointment. "Don't you see?" Anna replied, heat rising in her cheeks. "We're not giving up. Not now." Suddenly, Christopher lunged from behind, catching the intruder off guard. He tackled him to the ground, their bodies crashing against the floor. "I have your back," he shouted, using every bit of strength he had. Anna felt hope surge as she watched Christopher wrestle to keep the intruder pinned. Alan joined the struggle, adding his weight to Christopher's effort. They were forming a wall, a barrier of their own making, each determined to keep the enemy at bay, but the intruder was fierce and relentless, throwing punches, squirming beneath the combined strength of her friends. They couldn't let him break free. Anna rushed to join them, desperately pulling at his limbs, trying to help pin down his flailing body. "Keep him down," she shouted, blood roaring in her ears. Her fingers found purchase on the intruder's wrist. With all her strength, she forced it down, but just as they seemed to gain momentum, he let out another furious scream, the sound resonating with pure fury. They had no idea how strong he truly was. In that volatile moment, Anna's mind raced, doubts creeping in. Were they truly strong enough? Could they really stand against someone like him? "Remember why we fight." Alan's voice screamed through her thoughts. Together. She couldn't give in to fear. They had come too far. Focused on his words, Anna pushed herself harder, leaning into the fight, her heart roaring in her chest. They were more than just kids drawn into chaos, they were friends, warriors against the dark, but just then, she heard the unmistakable sound of sirens piercing through the night air, growing louder with each heartbeat. Relief washed over her. Help was on the way. "Hold on. We just need a little longer," Anna called, adrenaline surging, yet, amidst the hope, an unsettling dread snaked through her. Would they manage to keep the intruder restrained until the authorities arrived? The weight of the moment pressed down on her, the stakes higher than she had imagined. Just as Christopher's grip tightened, the intruder let out a howl of rage, his body convulsing. With a final attempt to break free. No. This couldn't be the end. They needed to hold on, but would their unity withstand until the sirens found them? Would they be able to uncover the truth behind the intruder's motives before it was too late? The scuffle felt like eternity, and Anna took a deep breath, grounding herself for what was to come. And in the back of her mind, a chilling thought emerged: what if this was just the beginning? Anna's heart raced as she wrestled with the intruder, every muscle in her body screaming for relief, but surrender was not an option. She felt the heat of exhaustion creeping in, but it was overshadowed by the urgency of the moment. Alan, Christopher, and she were a single unit, fighting with everything they had, and she was determined not to let go. Not now, not ever. The sound of sirens echoed closer, filling the room with both dread and hope. They had to hold on, she thought. The weight of her friends depended on her strength, and she couldn't allow that to crumble. Just a little longer. The intruder's ferocity intensified, but they weren't backing down. Anna dug her fingers into the floor, using every ounce of energy to anchor him. "Don't let him go," she screamed, feeling her voice break under the strain. "Push down harder." Alan's command came through gritted teeth, his body straining against the intruder's blows. Despite the pain, despite the doubt, his faith in them ignited a fierce determination in her. Anna felt something shift beneath her. The intruder was beginning to tire, struggling to break free against the weight of them. "We can do this," she cried out, forcing encouragement into her ragged breath. It was a small spark, but she noticed its effect. Christopher muttered something to keep himself focused, his eyes were wide, filled with a mix of adrenaline and fear. They were in this together, as they had always been. They had fought for each other through smaller battles. This was just on a much larger scale. With one swift movement, the intruder jerked his body sideways, almost flipping Christopher off him. With wild eyes, Anna caught a glimpse of their enemy's desperate expression. There was something unhinged behind that sneer, and it made her realize he was scared, a cornered animal. They could exploit that. "Alan," she said quickly. "On 3, let us push him back together. Focus." "Got it," he nodded, surging energy back into his frame. 1, 2, 3. Together, they pushed down with a collective surge, and for an instant, the intruder's face transformed from rage to surprise. "It's working." Anna's breath caught as she pressed down harder, feeling Christopher's weight shift as he regained his balance. Together, they made a real difference, but just then, the intruder unleashed one last, desperate push, screaming in defiance. It was a primal sound that echoed off the walls, raw and unsettling. Suddenly, the door shattered open, and a flood of blue and red illuminated the room. Shadows danced across the walls as police charged in, a whirlwind of authority and urgency. "Hands where we can see them." One officer barked, finger poised to pull a gun on the intruder if necessary. Anna felt a rush of relief wash over her, nearly collapsing as the weight of the moment shifted. The intruder, seeing the tide turn, made another furious attempt to escape. But the officers were prepared, tackling him to the ground with precision, swiftly cuffing his hands behind his back. "It's over," Anna whispered, gratitude flooding her chest. As the officers restrained the intruder, relief transformed into confusion as they caught their breath. "What just happened?" a voice asked from the back. It was one of the cops stepping closer. He recognized the trio's struggle and saw their bruised faces, and empathy washed over his features. Anna felt a swell of emotion. "We thought we could protect ourselves," she admitted, feeling the weight of the fear and pain drag on her heart. Her voice turned stronger. "But it was really about protecting each other. Together. Let us get you all checked out," the officer said, sincerity shining in his eyes, but as they began to leave the chaos behind, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Who was this intruder? What had he been after? And, more importantly, would they be safe again? The question nagged at her as she glanced back at the subdued man, a realization settling deep in her gut. The truth was still out there, and this encounter might have just opened a door to a much larger fight. As the police led the intruder away, the tension in the room dissipated, replaced by a profound silence. Anna, Christopher, and Alan stood together, panting, their adrenaline still surging. The weight of fear began to lift, but uncertainty lingered, coiling in the corners of their minds. The reality of what had just occurred reminded them all too starkly that their lives had forever changed. "Are you guys okay?" Christopher's voice broke the silence, concern etched across his features. Sweat trickled down his brow, but his eyes bore an unwavering strength that anchored them all. Anna nodded, her heart still racing, feeling a mixture of relief and disbelief wash over her. Alan winced as he leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. "Considering we just went toe-to-toe with a criminal, I'd say we're lucky," he chuckled, trying to lighten the moment, but his voice wobbled. Anna stepped closer, taking in the bruises already forming on Alan's side and the wild look in Christopher's eyes. "We did it together," she said, her voice steady and clear. "We stood up for what was right." They exchanged knowing glances, the bond forged in fire illuminating their individual triumphs and struggles. Christopher placed a hand on Anna's shoulder, gratitude radiating from him. "You were incredible. I can't believe you had the courage to do that," he said, his voice filled with admiration. Anna felt a swell of warmth. "I couldn't just stand by. My son, my family and this community matter too much for me to stay silent." Her heart swelled with purpose, binding her choice to each beat. This was just about saving Christopher, it was about changing the course of her son's future, and now they created an unbreakable link. Just then, a familiar voice sliced through the heaviness. "Anna." A frantic Ethan appeared in the doorway, eyes wide with worry. He dashed across the room and flung his arms around her waist, burying his head in her stomach. She knelt and wrapped him tightly in her embrace. "Mom, I was so scared. I heard the noise," and his voice trembled. "It's okay, sweetheart. I'm here. I'm right here," she reassured, smoothing a hand through his hair and feeling a burden lift from her chest. "I'm safe. We're safe." Ethan pulled back, looking between the three older figures, his gaze darting in confusion. "What happened?" "It's a long story, buddy," Alan said, trying to comfort him. "But everything is okay now, right?" he added, meeting Anna's eyes. "Right," Anna affirmed. She rose to her feet, feeling the weight of hope blooming in her chest. "We're all okay." Later that afternoon, as the sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden light over the mansion grounds, Anna, Christopher, and Alan sat together in the garden with Ethan running around nearby, blissfully unaware of any lingering danger. "We need to do something about this," Christopher began, seriousness returning to his voice. This wasn't just a random attack. Whoever he worked for isn't going to stop. Anna nodded, a spark of determination igniting within her. We can't let fear control us. Her voice rang with conviction, and she could see the fire reflected in Christopher's eyes. Alan chimed in, together, we can figure this out. We'll gather everyone in the community. Make sure they're aware. He had always been the planner, and in that moment, Anna felt the twinkle of a new future unfold. Yes. If we're united, nothing can tear us down, Anna stated, imagining children playing freely, families thriving together, and a safe neighborhood bursting with hope. Christopher smiled, raising his glass of iced tea, to courage. They clinked glasses, the sound serene and echoing through the garden, a promise of solidarity and change. As the sun set, bathing the world in deep oranges and purples, Anna felt a peace settle within her. She had reclaimed her voice, surrounded by people who believed in her, and for the first time in a long while, there was a clarity of purpose that washed over her. Together, they would build an unshakable foundation not just for themselves, but for their community, their future. It was a new chapter, and she would face it all with the strength of her son's dreams propelling her forward. The fight had begun, but their hearts stood resilient, ready to illuminate even the darkest corners. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Every click counts. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Your voice matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation and stand together in courage. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.